All right, ladies, welcome back to my channel. And today's video is actually going to be a little different. So I'm actually going to be kind of incorporating what my content used to be, which is going to be on makeup, as well as marrying together what I am projecting for my content to be, which is going to be pretty much regarding everyday living as well as positivity, right? So let's go ahead and jump right into it. All right, so what I'm going to be doing today is actually pretty much a walkthrough, or rather a talk through. So I'll be getting ready, skincare and makeup, and then also discussing things that were important for me to get myself to where I am today. So it's kind of like just jump right into it. So what I'm going to first start with, and this is very difficult of not having any kind of skincare on because I really want to start fresh. So I just got out of the shower, did my body care. So now we're going to jump into the skincare. So as I'm talking this through, the main thing I did want to discuss regarding conversationally is pretty much piggybacking off of my first video coming back into YouTube, which is regarding being intentional, right? Intentional manifestations. That was actually one of my first videos of coming back. So today we're going to discuss being intentional in general and what that did manifest for me. So I'm going to first start actually with my anti-aging serum. It's a hyaluronic and retinol. Not for nothing, I got this at TJ Maxx. Of course, you go to Sephora, your dermatologist, and pretty much have that conversation with our specialists or estheticians regarding what would work for you. Having been in the skincare as well as the cosmetology field for over a decade, I just know what works for me and what I was looking for. So I was looking for a hyaluronic and retinol serum. This is an anti-aging face serum. I got this at TJ Maxx. So I'm going to go ahead and actually do a pretty hearty size dollop and put that on my face. So the first thing that I thought about, right, when I really wanted to get into positive speaking for myself as well as a positive mind space, is you have to start with yourself, right? You have to really acknowledge your opportunities. I pretty much stabbed myself. Acknowledge your opportunities as well as, you can't attract what you want if you're not projecting that. And that was so important for me. So that also comes with a lot of self-reflection, right? While I'm talking, I'm actually going to put my hair back. It's a big old claw. Let's go ahead and put my hair back. I always wear my hair to the side, so it's just easy to just loop back the other side. So anyways, so that was my face serum. The next thing that I like to put on is a eye cream. It's an anti-aging eye serum. Not for nothing, I had broken out and I wasn't sure if it was based off of this. This is a retinol and collagen based one. Fun fact, your body can only absorb so much collagen. Don't believe the hype with all that collagen boosting, collagen drinking. Your body can only absorb so much. So with that being said, I am going to be placing this on my eyes. I actually don't even think your body can actually absorb collagen through your skin, but I do like that this was a retinol based one. Now with that being said, let's see how this does, because I using your ring finger is a lot more gentle. I thought I had broken out from this, but then again, I was playing around with a lot of new stuff, so we're gonna see what happens together, shall we? So going back to what I was mentioning before, starting with yourself, right? So the first thing that I did for myself in regard of attracting what I want is self-reflecting. That could literally look along the lines of seeking a therapist. I did seek a therapist, loved it, had really great conversations as well as awakenings for myself. Things that, again, this is just speaking for myself, things that I had already known. It was just rather interesting for a third party to acknowledge, as well as for me realizing how strong I truly am, and not feeding into the reality of just because you are a woman, just because you're a woman of color, and growing up with a Caribbean background, to be silent. And people that know me, you'd think like, really, Crystal? And it's like, yes, surprisingly. And just being aware that it is okay to stand in your truth. It is okay to be empowered, as well as understand that just because you're being empowered doesn't mean you're diminishing anybody else. And that was something that I had to learn, as well as own, right? So that was the first thing that I loved that I did for myself, was therapy, but also self-awareness. Because if I'm aware of not only my pros, but also my cons, my opportunities, then that's something I could work towards. So let's move on to from there, right? Also with the skin prep. So from there, especially since I am using a retinol, it's super important to use an SPF, but SPF always comes last. So let's go into our moisturizer. So I use two different kinds of moisturizers. I do love the L'Oreal Fighting Collagen again. I think I bought this one because I love the consistency, but two, it is a day and night one. So this is their L'Oreal Collagen Moisture Filler. And then I also use a hyaluronic acid day cream. Got this one from TJ Maxx. The brand is Manuka Lane, because you can actually find this on online. Literally, I was in TJ Maxx reading through the ingredients, reading through what's it called? What it claimed, but also directions. And I like to also see if I can repurchase it, if I love it. So for today, I'm going to mix it up. For today, I'm actually going to be using the hyaluronic acid one, the Manuka one. And I'm going to use my finger. I'm the only one using it, so don't come for me with sticking it in the jar. I literally just got out the shower. I just hit my mic. Anyways, so with that being said, another self-help, right, aspect that I did for myself was realizing, what does Crystal want? What do I want to attract? Because what you want to attract is what you need to become, right? So I love the concept of health, both mental and physical. I started working out, right? It's also a really great stress relief. I work a lot. But with that being said, started working out at least 4 to 5 days a week. I started off with at least 3 days, because the reality is as well is that you don't want to overpromise and underachieve, not just for everything you do in life, but especially for yourself. Because I feel like one thing that a lot of people can agree on is that healthcare journey can be so daunting, but also very diminishing if you don't achieve it, right? You could literally meet with a nutritionist, a personal trainer, get this amazing game plan, and if you overshoot it, you're going to give up. So I started off with only 3 days a week, because I told myself, if you really can't commit, you can't commit to 3 days a week, really, for yourself, really. So I made sure I went 3 days a week. I was up to 5 days a week, and it became a part of my routine. Not only did I, yes, of course, lost weight, but then I felt amazing. For me, I'm a morning person. Waking up at 6 in the morning, 5 o'clock in the morning is nothing to me, right? Starting my day with a purpose, going to the gym, stretching, Pilates. I recently incorporated Pilates 2 months ago. Obsessed. And that was important to me, because then I not only felt amazing, but then I presented my best self. For those that work out or have restarted working out, or just anything, it doesn't have to be just the gym. You could be a Pilates princess. You could be yoga, walking, running, mountain biking, anything that gets you active. Not only does it make you feel great, but it also, for whatever reason may be, you also present your best self. And I love that aspect. So on from there, including the skincare. So I do love La Roche-Posay. I do love their products. I use their Double Repair Face Moisturizer, UV Ultraviolet Broad Spectrum SPF 30. Obsessed. Fun fact, you cannot absorb more than 50, make sure I'm using a good amount, 50 SPF. Your body, it just sits there. So, or not just absorb, but it doesn't do any additional protecting. 50 is max, long story short. So a little amount like this, and then I'm going to then put my SPF on. SPF is super, super important, not just for anti-aging, but also for all the products I just used with AHA. My watch trying to record them saying AHA and BHA exfoliants, as well as especially retinol. You definitely want to use an SPF that will actually protect your skin, right? There you go. Cool thing as well, this does not cause a cast, especially if you're taking pictures, or for brown girl friendly, it does not make you look gray, as you can see. Clock it. Also, this is a ceramide 3 plus niacinamide. Had no clue. I love La Roche-Posay, and I loved the broad spectrum of 30. That is a prebiotic thermal water. Ooh, good. I'm taking this on vacation. Shows how much I paid attention. So Now that the face is actually nice and prepped, we're gonna go right into the makeup aspect of it, right? And all right, ladies, welcome back. As you can tell, my hair is different. I retwisted it. And I'm in a different attire. Why? Why, you might say. Unfortunately, my mic had died. So this is a different day, same subject line, and not for nothing, we're gonna keep on going. So although it's a different day, still face washed. I have all the same items that I had used before, including my serum, my eye serum, my moisturizer, and then my SPF. Now let's really get into the makeup and furthermore into our conversation. So the first thing I'll be doing is actually putting on one of my favorite products that I use daily, which is, I have two of them. One is a little bit lighter than the other, meaning same color, but in packaging. So this is the L'Oreal True Match Lumi Glow Lotion. I'm obsessed with this. I believe on the box it does state if it does have, I believe, either hydroquinone? No. Hyaluronic acid. I'm like 90% sure, maybe 80% sure, but regardless, I'm obsessed with this. So I'm actually going to go ahead and put a good dollop of this on my hand because I can mention it is a lotion with a little bit of tint. I am the darkest shade, which I think is number 4. Yep, 9044. And I'm going to be putting that all over my face. Nice little dollop. So going back to that conversation we're talking about. So like I was mentioning before, one of the most important aspects is starting with yourself, right? Not just self-healing, but self-awareness, like I'd mentioned. I did therapy as well as the gym, things that made myself feel good and things that I was able to commit to with consistency, right? Like I mentioned before, is that making sure that I am attracting what I want, making sure that I'm also ready for whatever that I do attract, right? So this, I love this stuff. It's so soft and just gives a really nice glow all over the skin. It doesn't do like extreme coverage, hence for everyday wear, but I love that it just kind of like softly evens out the complexion, but then gives a lit from within glow. I'm obsessed with this. I literally wear this to the gym, everywhere, work. Some days I don't even wear a concealer, but today we are going to be using with concealer. So going on to the next item, which is going to be the concealer, I am going to apply this with one of my favorite little duo brushes. It's a duo fibered by e.l.f. It has on one end a concealer brush, on the other end a foundation brush. With this, I am actually going to do a little bit of concealing underneath the eyes, right in this area, and then a couple of spot concealing, but this shade, it's the Fenty, the Wear Even concealer, the hydrating one. The shade is 385W. It's a little lighter than my skin tone, so I don't want to do too much spot concealing because then being lighter draws more attention to it, but more so for anything that has texture, I'm actually not going to be putting this on there because it's going to be more obvious. So going on to what I'd mentioned before, right? Regarding yourself, you want to ensure that you yourself is ready for what you want to attract, right? So that also does mean health as well. You want to ensure that you are in your best your best structure of health, both mentally and physically. Also mentally, meaning educationally. So one of the things that I decided to do is further my education. Now, I'm not talking about school, but I love to read. I'm an avid reader. So I started picking up books that were self-help books, just reading in general, maybe even including cooking. I love to cook. So even just reading cookbooks, just furthering on my education aspect that would also challenge me to learn something new, right? So give you an idea, although I'm moving pretty fast, let me slow down, is I'm pressing the concealer in where I want to highlight as well as where I want it to conceal, right? So just literally flipping back and forth with this brush, just making sure that at first I was doing pressing motions to ensure that the product stays, but then I was also doing sweeping motions once the product is pretty dispersed evenly to then blend out. I left my under eye concealer last because I really want that to dry down so that the opacity stays, but also not for nothing, it's going to crease a little bit less just depending on your concealer. This concealer, I'm obsessed with it. It's the Fenty Wear Even hydrating one. It barely creases on me. So I feel like that was a pretty decent dry down. So I'm going to use a smaller end and start to blend this out by pressing. So going on to what I was mentioning before, right? The main things that I had started with regarding self-help, right? And whatever form that may look like for you, whether that's therapy, whether that's going to the gym, whether that's pairing up with a nutritionist, just doing better for yourself. What that's going to enable from there is your true understanding of your value. Now, what exactly do I mean by that? As long as you understand the value of who you are, you're then able to then distinguish if someone else sees a value in you, right? So I'll repeat that. As long as you're aware of your true value, then you're able to pretty much decipher if someone else sees the value in you as well as appreciates the value in you. It all starts with you. So once I humbly and happily remembered who I am, what I am of value, right? As well as what value I do bring, whether that's in a relationship, whether that's in work, whether that's in a friendship, that was the pivotal point for me, because therefore I was able to then acknowledge, this person doesn't see the value in me, whether it's work, whether it's a relationship, whether it's friendship, they're not for me. And that was so important because you're not going to be angry, but you're going to be more self-aware. And that's where it really becomes a huge difference regarding boundaries. You need to build boundaries for yourself in order for you to actually be able to create those boundaries with others, as well as to acknowledge it is okay to set those boundaries. It is okay to ensure that you're upholding those boundaries, because the reality is you want to ensure that you're able to commit to yourself first before you're able to commit to other people. And that's so important. So let's move on to actually setting the concealer. So I do have a few options for concealing, setting powders. I do like to use this little powder puff. I got this off actually from Shein. Literally just typed in makeup puff and this came up. I like that I can slide my finger right in and then it gives me full range of motion. So the one I'll be using today is actually the Universal Natural Finish Loose Powder by Chanel. This is a great setting powder, L'Oreal Translucent Setting Powder in Honey, another classic. And then if you want something that gives actually surprising opacity, coverage, the Fenty Pro Filter Banana Powder. I like things that have not neutral, but more of a yellow undertone base. Amazing, 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 especially for either my beat makeup looks, or if I just need a little bit more extra coverage. Let's say I didn't get enough sufficient amount of sleep, which is very important, I'll actually use this one. But for this video, as well as what I've been using, honestly, for the last month or so, has been my Chanel one. So I'm going to, hope you can't hear my cat. My boy runs this house. Him and my dog. Anyways, so I am actually going to load up my puff by pressing it into the cap, and then first of all wiping off a little excess and then pressing that in. So now that we've established, it's super important to be able to be intentional, right, with yourself first and foremost, because how are you supposed to be able to, one, present your best self without committing to yourself first? Now that we have that established, you're then able to be intentional with other aspects of your life. And with this portion, like I mentioned, it's going to be on a relationship. So now that you've actually been able to establish not only your boundaries as well as the growth within yourself, now you're attracting what you're looking for. The reality is the attraction is going to be so obvious to the universe, right? And so naturally attractive is that, one, you're not even gonna realize it, but two, you're literally going to be manifesting what you're looking for. Better yet, you're gonna be manifesting being able to receive what you're looking for. And it's such a beautiful blessing. It's so amazing, as well as ensuring that when you are intentionally dating, right, it's okay to also have those questions that a lot of people may not want to ask on a first date. And I'm not talking about coming prepared with 21 plus questions. I'm not talking about like how much you're making, anything like that. That's the reality is, first of all, it's none of your business, right? But the reality is as well, it is okay to have those conversations on, are you looking to get married? Do you eventually want kids? Whatever important questions are for you, as long as you're keeping it respectful, I think it is important to have those questions upon a first, second, third date. From here, I'm going to be bronzing up my face. I'm going to be using, unfortunately, this is discontinued, but I am obsessed with it. This is the Becca, don't butcher me or kill me if I'm butchering this name. It's the Eponymous Sun. I love this bronzer, as you could tell. It has a nice, I guess you could say, warm redness to it. I like a red bronzer for myself. Nothing too red, but more warm, rustic. As well as it does actually have a little bit of a sheen to it, not glitter, but a sheen. So I'm actually going to use this to actually warm up my face. So from here, you actually do want to place your bronzer more so in the center of your face, and how you'll actually know where the placement is. Always go rule of thumb, the top of the ear down into this area of the socket, because that is naturally where it complements most people, as well as gives a soft contour depending on the shade that you use. For contour, you want to use more cooler tones. For the placement, that doesn't change. Not so much. This is more of like a 101, right? So with this, I am using a stiff bronzing brush, stiff dome brush pretty much. I'd say about medium size, and I'm going to be going back and forth. Everyone could argue, you could press, you could rub. The reality is it's just a powder. So I am just going in circular motions and really softly buffing that in. As you'll also pay hands and notion too, I'm not bringing it lower than where that imaginary line is for here. Even if it does slightly diffuse, not bringing it down, but diffuse slightly lower, it just looks a lot more natural regardless. So whatever's residual on my brush, I'm just going to go ahead and warm up the temples and bring it a little bit into my hairline and forehead. And the reason being, I just want this to look nice and warmed up onto the other side, and furthermore onto the conversation. So like I mentioned before, it is totally fine to ask those questions, right? To really ensure that you are being intentional with what you're looking to manifest, as well as what you're looking to project, therefore what you are looking to attract, right? In addition to, ladies, it is also important to say no. Meaning it is important and okay, rather, not even important. It's okay to say no to those red flags. And I'm speaking from experience, will sometimes notice, like, you know what? It may only be because of the situation. It may only be because of the opportunity. It may only. And the reality is everyone is given the same opportunities as you and I, right? If you and I were able to do that first portion I'd spoken about, which is being intentional with yourself, self-reflecting, self-healing, whatever that may look like for you, as well as self-building to understand your worth, understand your value, then everyone else can do the same. And I don't mean that from like a, well, if I could do it, you can do it. More so that person isn't done fully building up to their potential to be their best value, or rather, not for nothing, they may not be for you. That's totally fine. So it is okay to see those red flags. You don't have to be rude about it, but like, you know what? The reality is this has been fun. Whatever that maybe look like, that could have been 2 dates, that could have been 1 date, that could have been a week. It's okay to say, you know what? This red flag isn't for me. I'm looking for my green flag because I'm projecting green flag, and move on from there. Speaking of moving on from there, I'm going to then, now that I have a good payoff opacity of the bronzer in this area, I'm going to do the same thing and move this up to my temple and forehead. As you'll notice, I'm leaving this space nice and open, and then just buff, 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 blend, blend, blend. I'm that kind of person, again, I do like warmth, so I'm okay with bringing my bronzer right into this area. Right now, it may look a little, not muddy, because it's not a muddy color, but maybe I'd say 1.5 dimensional. We're going to go ahead and move on from there and add a little bit of blush. Actually, today I'm not going to use a blush. I'm going to use another bronzer. I'm going to show you different aspects of layering. Speaking of another bronzer, another great option opposed to that one, which is discontinued and I only buy it off of Amazon, Fenty makes some really amazing bronzers. This is the Sun Stalker in shade Caramel Cutie. She's actually so worn and beat up, but she's another pretty one, close to my skin tone. This one's not as red toned, but she's just really cute. Very soft and natural. I like a bronzer that's on more of the natural side for me. What I mean by natural, it's probably about like a shade and a half darker than my skin tone. Something that will lightly give depth, because I'm looking more for bronzing, not so much as contouring. Now, from there, I am going to contour a little bit of my nose. I'm going to use a smaller, stiff brush. This is actually the e.l.f. Flawless Concealer brush, but I like the size of this and how dense it is, that I'm going to just lightly contour my nose. Now, again, my nose. Now, like I was mentioning before, this bronzer isn't too red, so I actually do like it for my contour. I'm going to load up the brush softly, and then starting actually right here to the bridge of my nose. That's a little texture. And going straight down the side of my nose. And then I like to bring my contour right into this area, bridge, connecting it to my brow, hence the sweep off, right? Now, I loaded up that brush pretty crazy, so I'm actually, whatever's residual, I'm going to do on the other side. It's not going to be as opaque, but I really want to get whatever's on this brush off and then tap in and load up some more. So my left side, your right side, has more of that natural contour that I like. Load up slightly and then go right into the curve of my nose. How you'll know is by tipping your nose up like this, where it actually starts to bend, that is where you can softly go ahead and place that bronzer. Since I went a little heavy on this side, I'm going to take my concealer / foundation brush, the Duo, and I'm going to just press that powder, and it's going to actually pick up onto the brush and lightly diffuse out. I'm not sweeping this, I'm not buffing this because I don't want to disturb the placement. I just want the brush to pick up the excess of, there it goes, of that contour line. And now she's softly snatched, nothing crazy. To each their own, but that's just the way I like to do it. Now moving on from there. It's okay also when dating intentionally to move at your own tempo. Listen, the reality is after you've done all these previous steps, you're familiar with what you're looking for. And the reality is you attract what was looking for you, which is going to be very similar in mindset, spatial awareness of what you both are going to be looking for. And there's nothing more amazing, I'm speaking from experience, of meeting someone who's in that same mindset space, same intentions, same values, and is genuinely your person. And it's just a great feeling. I love my boyfriend. Exactly what I prayed for, exactly what I manifested, exactly what I worked towards to find me. I'm going to be very transparent with that. It's not a matter of looking. It's a matter of setting yourself up, making sure that you are ready to receive and to be found. At least that's what worked for me. Does that mean that I wasn't intentionally dating? Absolutely, I was intentionally dating. But I was intentionally dating for what would be attractive to me and also what would I attract. Hope that made sense. On to the next. The next thing from there is not just for makeup, but also for conversation. So the next thing that I would like to speak on rather, is being intentional with your friendships. So the reality is, right, it's a beautiful blessing if you have your friendships from when you were a child, right? From middle school, high school, I love that. I live in a different state. I do have some of those friends, but the reality is, I'm quite sure I speak for a lot of people, is that not everyone has the best interests for you that they'd have for them. And what I mean by that, this could also translate as well into family, right? Just being an empath, being someone who really gives my all into everything, whether it's work, relationships, and friendships, and I'm speaking for people that are like-minded as well, is that you become drained, you become exhausted. And the problem with that is that you start to fill their cup so much, and then you're running on an empty cup. You then start to fail with a lot of things. Fail with work, fail with your fitness, fail with your mental health. And it's so important to, again, realize those red flags and stop. It is okay whether it's family, a friend, to even have that conversation. I need to take a step back. I think I need to fall back a bit. Some people may celebrate that. Some people may acknowledge it, ask questions, and some might get angry with you. And the reality is, especially if they get angry with you, they're not for you. Family or not, friendships are not, depending on how long it's been. If they're not going to be understanding, if they're going to play victim, or better yet, sorry, my boyfriend came in to give me a kiss. This is, like I mentioned before, this is the opalescent powder by MAC called Rising Star. This is definitely probably like 4 or 5 seasons ago. Don't kill me. But this is actually very similar to their Extra Dimension skin finishes, I believe. Just go to your MAC counter, or just any kind of like bronzing, highlighting shade. The reason I like to do a color like this is because I do like to layer my bronzer. So that's exactly what I'm doing. I'm going to be placing this right above where I had placed initially that bronzer, because I like to use pretty much different shades similar in colors, but layered. It gives a really nice diffused look and very natural. So I'm just using a blush brush, and I'm going to just be buffing this on above, rather, not on top, above where I placed that bronzer, and right along the outer perimeter of my face. Pick up a little bit more and dust this in the center of my face, the tip of my nose, my chin. Should I edit that out? And then also right above, again, on the other side. So, really nice, really simple. Not for nothing, this is probably going to be like a 25-minute video because I'm talking through it. Because again, like I mentioned before, I want to marry pretty much two of my favorite passions: makeup, girly things, and then also just having really thorough, in-depth conversations that you never know whose day you could make, right? So now that's done, I am going to be then using a nice highlight. Again, limited edition, don't kill me. This you can get very similar at the MAC counter because it is another MAC product. You worked like literally for the company for nearly 10 years. Most of my stuff is going to be MAC, just saying. This is the Tiana Taylor House of Petunias, the color, but it's mineralized skin finish. Go to the MAC counter, MAC store, mineralized skin finish, or you go to Ulta as well. I believe also Sephora has their version of these as well, just to be a little bit more cost effective. So with the highlight, I'm going to go ahead and put that right along where I had placed that darker highlighting bronzer. And again, you see, just a nice transition of highlight. Do I do this every day? Actually, yes. I love a nice glow. I love, right, literally everywhere I place that darker one, I'm going to place that as well with this guy, except for my chin. I don't know why, I just don't like my chin to look too bright, I guess. And then I'm going to then use the brush that I used for my bronzing highlight. It's a blush brush, and I'm just going to pretty much marry everything together. And I'm actually holding the brush more towards the end, so it's a softer application, a soft diffusing motion, and everything is going to be softly blended, right? Now, like I was mentioning before, this again probably took me like 25 minutes because I was talking. Ow. But the reality is this look probably takes me about 12 to 15 minutes on a day, if that, maybe even 10 minutes. So I'm going to take it up just one more notch. So I'm going to take my bronzer, and I'm going to be taking a blending brush, actually the one that I had used to place my contour, and I am going to actually put my bronzer in my crease. And the reason being is I want to add a little bit of depth and contour to my eye. So I literally first started it with right into the crease of my eye, back and forth, and then I slightly am diffusing that onto my eyelid, just like that. And what it does, as you can see, difference is that it's nothing too crazy, but it just adds a little bit of depth. Do the same thing on the other side. And this is just if you want to take it up one more notch, especially being on camera, like now, you could kind of look pretty washed out or kind of just non-dimensional, if that makes sense. Adding a little bit to the eyes actually makes my eyes stand out a little bit more, not only just in person, but also when you are doing something virtually, i.e. virtual meeting, or I do a lot of virtual interviews. Yeah, so last but not least, the last thing I like to do is then put on a nice gloss. I'm quite sure if you don't already know, it's definitely going to be the Fenty Glow by Rihanna, duh. And love this color. Again, it is a really nice rose color. When she says universal, this baby is universal. Last but not least, it's optional, but I'm feeling a little dry, I guess, probably because I had literally washed my face and jumped right into this video since my mic had died with the old one. But to give you an idea, I do love to use the Morphe Continuous Mist. Again, this is water-based. It is literally just going to marry everything together. But for me, especially a water-based setting spray, see, it's already starting to do it. It just melts everything softly into the skin, especially using powders, that it looks even more like skin. This is one of my favorite things to do, especially when I just want to kind of look, I hate to use the word like lived in, but then the makeup does look a lot more lived in, a lot more just cohesively together. So I'm hoping you learned two most important things. One, an easy everyday makeup look that you could use not only with, for example, drugstore items, but also with high-end items. And the reality is that you don't need to spend a lot of money on makeup. These are just some key pieces that I do. One, wanted to splurge on because I love them, but two, also being cost effective. And I think that is very important to be able to see both sides, as well as you see a great soft natural look. And I was able to achieve it with also very minimal items. But most importantly, I do think it was really important to also have that conversation regarding being intentional, right, with decisions that you're making, right? Intentional with yourself, intentional with the growth of yourself, both physical, mental, internal, setting those boundaries with yourself and those non-negotiables to ensure that you are being fully committed to yourself so that you could go ahead and put forth your best self, attract what is best for you, both with relationships as well as friendships. So I'll leave you guys with that. I really hope you enjoyed the look, and I hope you guys have an amazing day, and thank you for being able to wing it out with me from 2 different days. Take care. Bye.